Guys, if you play football, then you definitely know these people. And I'm talking if you play on a team, because these are the most annoying players in football. You've definitely played with these guys before. These are the players that nobody wanted on their team. These players probably didn't even have any friends. They definitely wanted you to subscribe and like the video. You know what? I'm just gonna give you, I can wait. I'll wait for you to like and subscribe and comment. The first player we have is actually the striker who cannot finish. This guy was so good other than his finishing. Let's get right into it. First up, we have the striker who could never score. This guy could not finish, but to be fair, his dribbling was amazing. This guy was honestly a really good player. He could do anything with the ball, and his runs were elite. This guy's positioning was so good as a striker. He was so good at playing position other than the main part, putting the ball in the back of the net. This guy could not do that to save his life. He'd set it up beautifully and then he just couldn't finish, but it wouldn't even be close. It would always just be terrible. He couldn't even score easy chances. This guy was honestly just bad in general. This guy couldn't finish at all. And the thing about this guy is his teammates hated him because he couldn't do his job. They were so mean to him, and this guy would always just be really sad. I felt so bad for him. All right, that was a striker who could not finish. This guy was such a liability because he couldn't do the main role of being a striker. But next, we have a guy who just didn't pass the ball. Next up, we have the guy who would do loads of skills but never pass. This guy was so annoying if you played on your team because he just do skills for what felt like hours. This guy was honestly really good at skills, and he could be a really good player if he passed the ball, but instead he would just play with the ball for ages. No one could take the ball from him, but he also just wouldn't get anywhere. This guy would just do skills constantly, and it was so annoying. He would just look up and keep doing his skills. He was also such a poser. This guy thought he was sick. His teammates would be calling for the ball, and they'd have a really good opportunity to score. He'd think about it, and he'd consider it. He really would. And then he just wouldn't pass it. And this happened every time. His teammates would get so mad at him because he'd just do loads of skills. This guy would go on a skill run, but for some reason, he'd always miss. And then he'd just apologize awkwardly and say it's maybe not his fault. And then he'd bully his teammates and say it was their fault. That was the guy who never passes the ball. This guy was such a poser, and let's be honest, nobody actually liked him. People just pretended they did. Next up, we have the guy who was injury prone. I felt so bad for this guy, but it was frustrating if he was on your team because he was such a good player. On the rare occasion that he wasn't injured, this guy probably could go pro. Actually, I think he could go pro. He probably even played pro. This guy would score so many goals. Every type of goal this guy would score. He would get assists, and he would just be the team's best player. He was a goal machine. And oh, look, he's telling you to like the video. Please like the video. Anyway, this guy, he would get injured, right? And it would be a pretty bad injury. Everyone would be worried about him, but he'd just need to get subbed out, and he'd be on the bench. This guy would be so upset, and he'd finally come back, but when he came back, he'd do well, but then he'd just get injured again, and it would all start all over again. Everybody felt so bad for this guy, and he was never the same. He wouldn't play well anymore. So yeah, guys, that guy was the guy who always got injured. This is such a sad story, man. It brings a tear to my eye. And guys, guess what? This guy's actually me. I could have gone pro, but then I got injured. You already know, so yeah. Next, guys, we have the guy who just got overly angry at everything. Next, we have the guy who took everything way too seriously. This guy was pretty good, but he just gets so angry at his teammates and nobody knew why. What he said didn't even make sense. It made no sense, but he was just so angry. I don't even know what this guy would do in his free time. If he messed up, he'd get so mad at himself, but then he'd realize it was actually someone else's fault, and he'd start blaming everybody. This guy was absolutely crazy. Honestly, I said he was good. He wasn't even that good. He would just get so mad, and everybody was scared of him. I'm not gonna lie, this guy actually needed to get help. He had anger issues. That was the guy who gets overly angry at everything. This guy definitely needed some help. Guys, come on. This guy was so mean. This guy bullied me. Let's be honest. That's why I'm so sad. That's why I'm so inconsistent uploading YouTube videos, because he bullied me. So like the video, and yeah.